Have you ever wondered what would happen if the federal government tried to take control of America's universities, dictating who they hire, what they teach, and even who gets to study there? Well, that's not a hypothetical anymore. Right now, some of the nation's most prestigious colleges are facing an unprecedented crackdown from the Trump administration, and the consequences could reshape higher education and our democracy for years to come. I'm Leo, and tonight, we're diving deep into the legal and constitutional storm brewing on America's campuses. This isn't just about politics, it's about the future of free speech, academic freedom, and the very soul of our universities. Let's start with the basics. In the early days of the Trump administration, a sweeping executive order landed on the desks of federal agencies. The message was clear: investigate and, if necessary, punish universities and major nonprofits for so-called illegal discrimination, with a special focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, or DEI. The targets: the country's largest, wealthiest universities, places like Harvard, Columbia, and dozens more. But here sat the twist. Instead of following the usual painstaking legal process where investigations are thorough, evidence is gathered, and schools have a chance to defend themselves, the administration sent out letters to more than 50 universities threatening to cut off hundreds of millions in federal funding. No detailed findings, no hearings, just a warning. Comply or else. This is not how the law is supposed to work. Under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, the government can withhold funding from schools that discriminate. But there are rules, investigations, opportunities for voluntary compliance, and above all, due process. These aren't just bureaucratic hoops. They're constitutional protections designed to ensure fairness and prevent abuse of power. Critics on the right accuse them of being bastions of left-wing ideology, hostile to conservative voices. But what we're seeing now goes far beyond rhetoric. This is about direct federal intervention demands to change admissions policies, to monitor and control faculty hiring, even to oversee what's taught in the classroom. And the impact is real. On campuses like Columbia, students, especially those from immigrant backgrounds, are afraid. They're self-censoring, asking student newspapers to remove their names from articles, and worrying that even minor infractions could lead to visa revocations or worse. The message is chilling. Speak out and you could lose your future. Let's pause for a moment. If you care about academic freedom, about the right to express your views without fear, now is the time to pay attention. Share this video. Start a conversation. Ask your university, your elected officials, and your community. Where do we draw the line between legitimate oversight and government overreach? Back to the story. The administration's tactics have drawn comparisons to the darkest chapters in American history, most notably the Red Scare of the 1950s, when universities were pressured to purge anyone suspected of communist sympathies. But some legal experts warn that today's crackdown could be even more damaging. Why? Because it's not just about rooting out a particular ideology. It's about asserting federal control over the entire operation of our universities, who they admit, who they hire, what they teach, and how they discipline students. And here's where the law comes in. Supreme Court has long recognized academic freedom as a core First Amendment value. Universities are supposed to be incubators of free thought, places where ideas, controversial, challenging, even uncomfortable, can be debated and explored. When the government uses its financial power to dictate what can and can't be said, that's not just bad policy, it's a direct threat to the Constitution. But it's not just about free speech, it's about process. Before the government can take away funding money that supports research, medical trials, and the livelihoods of thousands, it must give institutions a chance to defend themselves. That's due process, and it's foundational to American law. So how are universities responding? Harvard, with its massive endowment, has taken a stand refusing to comply with the administration's most intrusive demands and citing both First Amendment and statutory rights. But most schools don't have Harvard's resources. For them, the threat of losing federal funding is existential. Legal experts predict that if these disputes reach the Supreme Court, The justices will likely rule against the administration not necessarily on the broadest constitutional grounds, but because the proper legal process wasn't followed. But until then, the uncertainty and fear remain. Let's be clear, this isn't just a fight about campus politics. It's about the future of American democracy. When the government can bypass the law, silence dissent, and control our institutions of learning, we all lose. So here's my challenge to you. Don't let this moment pass in silence. If you're a student, a parent, a faculty member, or just someone who believes in the power of education, speak up, demand transparency, defend due process, protect academic freedom, and most importantly, stay informed. Because the future of our universities and our democracy depends on it. If you found this report valuable, share it with your friends and networks. Subscribe for more in-depth analysis. And let's keep this conversation going, because when it comes to our rights, our freedoms, and our future, silence is not an option. Thank you for watching. I'm Leo. Stay curious, stay courageous, and stay engaged.